This is Perrysburg City Council for April 6, 2019. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Okay, Ms. Warren.
Here.
Mr. Coolman.
Here.
Ms. Materney.
Here.
Mr. McCarthy. Here. Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Van Hoosen.
Here.
Mr. Weber.
Here. Thank you. If you're able, please stand and join me in saying the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You want to change the date of the opening remarks, sir?
You said 2019, sir. It's 2021.
What did I say?
2019.
Sweet. I apologize.
We're open. I'm okay with that.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I don't even, it's not anywhere on any sheet of paper. Thank you very much. So with that corrected, nobody heard that hopefully in public. We have the minutes of the council meeting of March 16, 2021.
Thank you, Mayor, and I do have the meeting minutes here for the city council meeting. Hearing that there wasn't any concerns, I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of city council held on March 16, 2021 as written and dispense with the reading.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Warren.
Yes.
Mr. Coolman.
Yes.
Ms. Materney.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Hoosen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have no special reports today. Letters, communications, citizen concerns. I see no one in the audience coming to the podium, so we move on. Administrative reports. Now that I have the right date and time, I have a report. That I do have two recommendations for appointment to Kaylee Suyanov to the Street Tree Commission and Brian Thomas is our city engineer. So I will recommend Brian Thomas to be the next city engineer.
I will make a motion to have Brian Thomas take over as a Perrysburg City engineer.
Second. Discussion? Roll call?
Okay, Ms. Warren.
Yes.
Mr. Coolman.
Yes.
Ms. Materney.
Yeah.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Hoosen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations and welcome.
And you can't take it back now either.
Yeah.
All right, good. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to sneak out if nobody's paying attention.
Well, I can't now, you brought it up.
All right, and I would also recommend Ms. Swaya to the Street Tree Commission.
And I will make the motion to approve that as the Point Review Committee met and recommended 3-0.
A second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Okay, Ms. Warren.
Yes.
Mr. Coolman.
Yes.
Ms. Materney.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Hoosen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate volunteering to be on the committee. City Administrator has no report to the Finance Director.
I have a couple of items tonight. First being, as the reminder to everybody that the first meeting in May is our normally regular scheduled joint meeting with the Perrysburg Township trustees in consideration of the joint cemetery. So if there's no concerns or objections, I will contact the cemetery and the trustees and get everything ready for a meeting on May 4th.
Assuming 5:30.
Assuming, yep. And the second issue, just to kind of get you thinking about it at this point, is this is about the time of year, maybe a little early, we start thinking about the summer schedule.
You're really thinking about the summer schedule.
Yeah, I won't be here, just saying. Just to throw this out there, you guys can do whatever you want to do, but I usually look at it, try to space them out, and if we stay to that idea, we are looking at meetings on July 6th, July 27th, and then August 17th. That spreads everything out 3 weeks apart through those 2 months. Don't need any decisions right now, just kind of look at your schedule and
Would you provide those dates again, please?
Pardon me?
Would you provide those dates again?
Oh, sure, I'll send out an email with the, yep,
Thanks, Dave.
sure. That's all I have.
Thank you. Law Director?
No report.
Thank you. President of Council?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a topic of conversation that I think we've all been hearing about here for the last several weeks, if not months. It's been brought to the attention of myself as well as I believe many other council members of some of the issues that have gone in implementing DORA. What I would like to do is ask our Planning and Zoning Committee to look into this a little more closely in order to see what the issues are and try to have this resolved so we can have a vote by the April 20th meeting, so long as that abides by what our law director's recommendations are based off of what it says for the code. So I believe that we should be okay to do that, but if something comes up, she can at least let us know we're doing it right.
As long as you are not planning on expanding the footprint of the DORA,
Okay.
you are fine.
Okay.
If you want to expand the footprint of the DORA, then it has to go to all the public hearings that you did previously when you were passing the DORA ordinance.
And I don't think that that is part of the conversation at this point. It's just trying to fix some of the language to make certain that this can be enacted, and I look forward to hearing what the Planning and Zoning Committee is able to look into this to a little further.
Jonathan, that's right. We talked in the committee about changing the date for that meeting, and I think I heard from Corey and Barry that they're both good for Thursday, April 15 at 6 p.m. Planning Commission meets at 7 that night, and so we only have an hour. And maybe Kate or I don't see her here.
She's not available this evening.
Just pass the word to Brody. We'll meet that night and tell him the only issue will be Dora, unless he has something really urgent that needs to be acted on.
On what night you say it was?
Thursday, April 15,
April 15th, okay.
6 p.m. And we'll take it up at that time.
Thank you, Jeff.
Council President Smith, since I was not aware of this except for seeing it on Channel 13 with Diane Larson over the weekend, what is the discussion about?
That's what hopefully we can figure out exactly all the issues that are coming about. I think the biggest issue that I was informed of from some of these businesses in downtown Perrysburg was the organization requirement. Due to one of them being a brewery, there is some legal issues that they cannot create the organization for. So we want to look into that a little further and have some conversations to make certain that we have a good understanding, and if there's a change that needs to be made, to possibly make that change.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
All right, that's the end of my report.
Great, thank you. Any other, we'll go on to the committee reports, Finance and Economic Development.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no report, and our Finance and Economic Development Committee will next meet at next Tuesday, April 13th at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. Safety Committee?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do not have a report either. Our next scheduled meeting is April 27th at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Recreation Committee?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No report. Our next meeting will be April 13th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you. Planning and Zoning?
Thank you, Your Honor. We met on March 24. President, myself, Corey Coleman, Barry Jansen, Bridget Gavitt, City Administrator, Kate, the City Law Director, from Walter, and Mark Lee from the Planning and Zoning Department. The minutes of the February meeting were approved. We then took up some proposed amendments to some code ordinances pertaining to metal panels. Council may recall this was the subject of a public hearing on March 2nd, 2021. The changes will classify metal panels into two categories. I guess you can kind of call them simple metal panels and architectural metal panels. It would also create a hierarchy of metal products to allow the higher quality panels to use in a larger percentage of building space than the lower quality versions. Mr. Walters, Planning and Zoning Administrator, noted that at the public hearing council member, council president Jonathan Smith had asked about also allowing these in the parks, zoning districts, because the energy efficiency the metal panels offer. He said they were not including that in this particular revision because typically you do not heat or cool park buildings. But he did say that the topic of metal panels will probably be reevaluated in a couple of years because at least some of the planning commissioners wanted higher percentages, but they felt this was a good starting point. And I did put it in the minutes, I think Brody said at that time. We can also take a look if it makes some sense to include these, make some changes in our park zoning category. I commented that I thought the amendments looked good. I commend the city for recognizing technological improvement. Corey Coleman suggested that the wording changed and move the phrase such as that be changed to including but not limited to. And we voted unanimously to recommend approval of the changes, and they'll come to you later in ordinances 27 and 28. We continued our discussion of arborvitae height. It's become a regular topic for us. And Brody Walters had sent us some information about it, and my impression from reading that was that the 6-foot limitation on hedges and screening planting heights did not exist prior to 2015. And as I've said before, I don't see any reason for the 6-foot limitation. I'd be in favor of amending 1250.42 to eliminate that height requirement for the side yard and rear yards and just limit height in the front yard. We did talk about different species and the height they can grow to. Barry Van Hoosen, question whether pointed out that it is typically human nature to push the envelope. And so if we just, if we increase the height to any extent, they'll push it, it'll be pushed as far as it can. Corey Coleman said he's more inclined to remove the restriction because overgrown plantings can be dealt with to some extent through the property maintenance ordinance. Corey did say he's in favor of a front yard restriction as well. Barry has said that the nature of defining overgrown is subjective, and he commented that he's not passionate one way or another about the height limitation, but clearly he expressed some concerns. Kate Sandretto will draft something of an ordinance of sorts for the next committee meeting to take up. And then there was some discussion about having our planning and zone code violations be treated as a civil instead of a criminal matter. And Corey Coleman said he'd like to see that subject on a future agenda. Then finally, we have been dealing with a couple pool issues where the pool was installed closer than 15 feet to the property line. In a particular case we talked about that night, only the stairs in the pool encroach into the 15-foot required setback. Barry Van Hoosen had spoken with the property owners to give them information about trying to collect from the contractor who really created this problem. Property owners have hired an attorney and indicated to Barry that they don't have any interest in moving the pool because they interred a portion of their deceased daughter's ashes in the concrete. Kate Sandretto and Corey Coleman had kind of worked in tandem to draft some language defining the water's edge. And basically what Kate had offered for consideration is that if you define the water's edge more narrowly, then it's not considered to, it is not considered to have previously been defined that way. So if the language were approved to define the water's edge to include stairs, it would be a solution for this house and would prevent the same issue in the future. As law director, Kate was asking for the committee's support for this change because if the current situation goes to court, the judge would effectively not allow it to go to trial and tell the parties to settle. And the city will spend more time and money and end up with the same result. Corey Coleman said that in his opinion, it's a waste of money to dig up the pool. Brody Walters liked the proposed change because it does not complicate their job moving forward. And then finally, we talked about new procedures that have been put in place during the permit process, including some inspections of pool location before concrete is poured, and also getting signatures from the contractor and the homeowner to confirm that they're both aware of the 15-foot setback. We agreed unanimously to refer this issue and any of that type of language to the planning commission for its consideration and potential recommendation. And then adjourned, and as noted previously, we will meet again on Thursday, April 15th at 6 p.m. And then I would like to introduce ordinances 27 and 28-2021. Move to the rules be suspended to allow for the reading by number of title only and dispense with the second and third reading.
Second. Roll call?
Okay, Ms. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Coolman,
Yes.
Ms. Materney,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Ordinance number 27, 2021, amending codified ordinance section 1215.02, sections 111.01 and 111.02 regarding metal panes in the city of Perrysburg zoning code. Ordinance number 28, 2021, amended codified ordinance section 1250.48A2, exterior wall materials standards by zoning district of the city of Perrysburg zoning code.
All right, then I move that ordinances 27 and 28 to 2021 be passed.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
All right, Ms. Materney,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes,
Mr. Coolman.
Yes.
nothing further.
Thank you very much. Personnel Committee?
I have nothing on the agenda tonight to report back. I do believe we need to potentially schedule a meeting this week to review some business here. I know, Kate, you are asking that we do that Thursday, I believe, right?
Well, that seemed easiest because 2 out of 3 of you are on the Planning and Zoning Committee who are also on Personnel.
But that meeting's no longer
But
happening.
that's at 6.
The
that's
planning
at
and
6.
zoning got moved to the 15th.
Right, so I was wondering if we could do it at 5:30 before that on the 6th, on the 15th.
On the 15th.
Yeah, that's fine.
And Mr. Weber is pretty congenial about being there at all, anywhere.
That will work for me.
Okay, and this is not
In lieu of.
the later meeting, because we have other things to bring you. This is just to discuss a contractual issue.
Okay. So our next meeting will be April 15th at 5:30 p.m. and we will still have our regular scheduled meeting April 27th at 5 p.m. Nothing else to report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. Public Utilities?
Thank you, Mayor. We did have a brief meeting here just prior to this that everyone was present for. I can give a synopsis if anybody would like, but we just want to work 3 motions on sewer credits. So with that being said, you can pull the paper here. I would like to make a motion to approve the sewer credit appeal for 13001 Roachton Road, as well as 1927 Hamilton Drive and 576 East Front Streets.
My second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Okay, Ms. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Coolman,
Yes.
Ms. Materney,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, our next scheduled meeting is on April 28th at 6:30 p.m. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Service Committee?
We did meet March 24th at 6:40. It was called to order by Chairperson Jim Chang. In front of us, Mike Coleman, and Brady Cabot, and Kate Sandretto. Being no objections, minutes from the meeting, February 24th meeting were approved. We recommended Kayla considered for appointment to the tree commission and send it on to council for approval. Ms. Sandrino presented legislation with approval of mosquito spray supplies to Clark. And the committee recommended approval. Ms. Sandrino presented legislation that would approve the purchase of the Durapatch machine for the Department of Public Works. And there's some discussion about it, and it was recommended to be sent on to council for approval. Inspection and construction administration for State Route 25 and Preston Parkway intersection improvement was discussed. And it was recommended that it be sent on to council for approval. Ms. Sandrino presented legislation that would approve the purchase of a new street sweeper. And it was actually the lower priced one that the street department liked and was asking for. And it is included in the 2021 budget. There was some discussion on it, and it was recommended to be sent on to council for approval. We adjourned at 6:55. Next meeting is Wednesday, April 28th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. I have a couple resolutions to introduce. Okay, the first one, I would like to introduce resolution 22-2021. I move that the rules be suspended to allow for reading by number and title only, and to dispense with the second, third readings.
Second. We're doing them one at a time?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think they need to be, sorry.
All right, that's fine. No, you're just moving. All right. Roll call?
Okay, roll call. Ms. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Coolman.
Yes.
Ms. Materney.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Resolution number 22, 2021. Authorizing the city to purchase mosquito control supplies from Clark at a cost not to exceed $56,216 and declaring an emergency.
I have a quick question.
She got moved for passage.
I move that resolution 22-2021 pass as emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion.
Oh, thank you. As I was looking through this, I was noticing that on the Clark information quote, it talks about in February, it says February 17, 2021, valid till 3/15/21. And my question is, if we're going to get a discount of $4,558.13, is that still valid?
Yes,
That is?
yes.
Thank you.
Excellent question.
Any other discussion? That roll call.
Okay, Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Coolman.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Materney.
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
At this time, I would like to introduce resolution 23-2021 and move that the rules be suspended to allow for its reading by number and title only, and to dispense with the second, third reading.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Coolman.
Yes.
Ms. Materney.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Resolution number 23, 2021. A resolution authorizing a purchase agreement with Leader Machinery Company Limited for the purchase of a Duraco Durapatcher Model P2 in an amount not to exceed $67,500 for the Perrysburg Department of Public Service and declaring an emergency.
I move that resolution 23-2021 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes, I just have a question. I was looking at this where it says that quote for Leader Machinery Company Ltd. and it says on here the base price is $67,500. But then it says, I broke down the options for which you can see everyone gets, they enhance the operation. If you have any questions, please call anytime. I hope to be any service of you. So I don't know, the additional information on the options is additional, or that says $69,000 363, or if that's just a salesman chatting. What is that? What's the thought on that?
I guess I'm not entirely understanding the question,
On the leader machinery,
but we're buying the $67,500
yeah,
one.
yeah, but beneath it.
And I see what you're talking about, the additional options. I think that's a salesman saying if you want these additional things, you could also have these
So
things.
we're still at 67,000?
Yes, that's what I was asked by service to write it up for. So yes.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Okay, Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Ms. Materney,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Ms. Bourne,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Coolman,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Resolution 24-2021 and move that the rules be suspended, allow first reading by number and title only, and dispense with the second, third reading.
Second.
Roll call?
Okay, Ms. Bourne,
Yes.
Mr. Coolman,
Yes.
Ms. Materney,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Resolution number 24, 2021, authorizing an agreement with Manick and Smith Group for the construction inspection and construction administration for the State Route 25 and Preston Parkway and Fort Meigs Boulevard intersection project in an amount not to exceed $62,934.
I move that Resolution 24-2021 be passed.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Okay, Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Coolman,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Materney,
Yes.
Ms. Bourne,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
At this time, I would like to introduce Resolution 25-2021 and move that the rules be suspended to allow fourth reading by number and title only, and dispense with the second, third readings.
Second.
Roll call?
Okay, Ms. Bourne,
Yes.
Mr. Coolman,
Yes.
Ms. Materney,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Resolution number 25, 2021. A resolution authorizing a purchase agreement with Best Equipment Sales for the purchase of one Timco 600 street sweeper for the Perrysburg Department of Public Service in an amount not to exceed $259,901 and declaring an emergency.
I move that Resolution 25-2021 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I'd like to add that I'd like to thank the administration and Mr. Krebs for being wise to save us $1,000 on this. Thank you.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Okay, Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Materney,
Yes.
Mr. Coolman,
Yes.
Ms. Bourne.
Yes.
Thank you.
That is all I have.
Thank you very much. Any other business come before this council?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor, Harry?
Aye.
No objection or adjourn?